Now this is Hollywood Unlocked. What up, everybody? It's Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored from home. I'm Jason Lee.
I'm Melissa Ford, aka the Curb Queen, at home as well.
Yes, it's DJ Damage.
Okay, and listen, we have an icon in here, and I'm going to start by prefacing this with an icon in the most respectful way, and an actress, and together they have now created something that hopefully will get us all through. Iyanla Vanzant and Tina Lifford.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello,
ladies.
hello. How are you?
So Iyanla,
We're excited to have you.
yes, Iyanla, we need you to fix this podcast because at this point
Oh.
we are working from home, and although people like to be in the comfort in their own houses, this is becoming frustrating. I mean, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of stress right now with this whole corona stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the podcast don't have anything to do with the corona. That's from our technical handicaps. So I, I confess publicly, I am technically handicapped. So
But whenever we think of Ayanla, we literally think you can fix everything. I mean,
I know. Wanda Sykes sent me a text, fix my tire.
And you know what? I believe with Wanda that you probably could if you wanted to. But before we got started, I had said that I just recently published my first book. The title's called God Must Have Forgotten About Me, which I want to get to you. But in the book, in one of the chapters, it covers the death of one of my brothers that I had witnessed. And I went through a really dark time. And your book, Until Today, was literally the book I feel like that I credit to everybody that I know that got me through, because it was literally the book that every single day you get up, it's a new day with a new page that you read that gave you an affirmation to really focus on, if you could really get into the depth of what you were saying on each page, to help a person make it through and have a positive outlook on life. And so I had one that I kept by my bedside, and I had one that I kept on my desk at work, and I would just read it every day at home and at work. And then I started just gifting it to people. So I wanted to say I'm honored to be able to thank you for that gift, because it really is a blessing. I even put on my Facebook yesterday, I said, if you haven't gotten it, go get it and get through this coronavirus by reading that page one page a day.
Yeah, well, it's more than the affirmation. It's about the principles that we need to incorporate to go through something like this, or just something every day. And I thank you for the honor. It's really good to hear a man say that, because, people dub me as just being about women. So I'm really, really grateful and honored that you, as a man, found some value in the work.
Oh no, absolutely. And it's something that if people are watching this and listening, if you have never heard of the book or don't have the book, and you're a man or a female or one in transition, go get the book.
Yeah, you're Miss Ayanla. You're definitely a cultural icon, and Jason. I share a similar story to Jason. One of your books was helped me get through a very difficult time in my life. I remember it very distinctly, walking through the mall, feeling as aimless as I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I walked into a bookstore, because books have always kind of been my friends, and I was looking for a book to speak to me. I didn't want to just walk into the self-help section and see a title that just, slapped me in the face like, oh, that's the one. I was looking for a book to talk to me. And The Value in the Valley was that book.
Oh, baby,
You
that's it.
Mm.
That's
that
the one. Oh,
I
yeah.
want you to know that when I took that book home and I started reading it, I had tears streaming down my face, and
Yeah.
I kept dog earing the book. I mean, literally, this is the copy from 20
Oh my
something years
gosh.
ago. This is
Yes.
it.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
would dog ear the pages, and I would highlight, and I would, I wrote letters to everybody that I felt like I did not communicate my feelings towards. I mean, it's you're a wonderful author, and you just really are so in touch with the human condition and the human experience, and how we're all so much more similar than we are different.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a whole generation of people, of youngins, I call them youngins, who don't
I
even
do
know the
too.
value in the valley. And so
The value
I've
in the
been
valley.
really playing with doing an online course, because, as you know, there's some things in there, particularly for us as women, that we need to
Yes.
master. in order to
Yes.
get through relationships and
Mhm.
self-awareness. So,
Mhm.
that book is older than some of my granddaughter's friends.
Mhm. Yeah. But it is one of those kinds of books that you can pick up all, like, at any point that you're going
Any
through some kind of difficulties in life, and it's gonna have if there's gonna be a theme that relates to what you're experiencing, and that's what I've loved about the book. It's
It's
stayed with
amazing.
me, like, I would never give away the copy, but I have bought it for other friends, like
Thank
Jason
you.
has.
I'm
Yeah.
And
so honored.
Tina, you're an actress and an author too, and a playwright. You have your own books.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
feel good. I call myself an author now. How did you get into writing books? I mean, was that something that you always had a passion for?
No, not at all. But before we move into that, I just want to say to Melissa and even you, Jason, when you talk about the impact that Iyanla's book had on you, that's when you know the difference between a self help book and a calling. A self
Mhm.
help book and literally your life matching up in that moment with your spirit, with God,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it literally is speaking right to your soul. And we
Mhm.
all want that, right? We all
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
pick up a book like that. And those of us who are interested in being of service want to write in such a way that our reader is impacted like that. For
Mhm.
me, writing The Little Book of Big Lies was the most difficult thing I have ever done. But it actually uh, put me face to face with God and with myself in a humbling way, a way that broke me open in all the right ways, because I came and before I could leave with the book fully written, I had been stripped of my ego, stripped of pretense, stripped of,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of those things had to go by the wayside in order for a resonating truth to come forward. And Iyanla definitely knows about that.
That's
And
powerful because I know the last time I wrote a book and I said, okay, God, why do I have to experience everything I write about? Can I just write a book? I don't want to play no more. It's not fair. So I had to I had to understand, well, you chose it and that's what you're doing. So I know what you mean, Tina, when you say
yeah,
it humbles you. My experience
yeah,
was with that was Peace from Broken Pieces, which is the first book I
Mhm.
wrote after my daughter passed away.
right.
And it took me 3 years to write that book because I refused. I was so disobedient. I said, I'm not writing that. I'm not
Right,
telling that. I'm
right,
not.
right,
But then,
right.
I had to do it. So I appreciate it. And I hope a lot of times people will write me or say to me, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And okay, go right ahead. Knock yourself out.
But we had Jennifer Lewis on our show, and Jennifer Lewis, when we had talked to her about her book, and I had read her book on a trip to Hawaii, and then subsequent at the end of that interview, she said to Melissa and I, "You both need to write your stories," because we had opened up really personal about molest and abuse and neglect and just different experiences that we had. And when I started to write my first book, I really felt like you have to be vulnerable, you have to be raw. I feel like your books do that, talking about your daughter's death, me having the experience with my brother's death. When you get to that lowest place and you find a way surviving it, you do feel, at least for me, and I'm sure you feel like some sort of obligation to share that story with the world to help other people that are going through those things, and now the feedback that I get, which is the same feeling I have about your book, is that it really helped people with their own healing, like
Mhm.
they're reading their story through my story, and to see that I've made it out of that has been something that's transformative. So again, we thank you for your
Yeah.
contributions, because I know that you probably hear this from thousands and thousands of people. Both of you probably run across a lot of people who love your work, but it's an honor to be able to meet somebody that's given so much back to me that I don't even know.
Mhm.
Listen, so which one of
Yeah.
us is going to write the book about this Wahala we sitting in right now?
Fix it,
Not
Jesus.
I. Not I. I
We
am
need you
not
to fix
writing
it.
about this. Okay.
We-
Actually, it's really um, anybody who's a devout spiritual student, longtime spiritual student. And when I say that, I mean you've studied the classical teachers, you've studied spiritual laws and principles from, the ancient, from the classic works, knew this was coming. Didn't know what it was or how it was going to look, not so much in the traditional Christian terms of, Armageddon and the world is
Like a
ending, but
biblical
just
plague, etc.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Not so much like that, but knew that there had to be a reset. A reset was coming, and that we were being called to have a deeper respect for the earth, for each other. Um, so I knew it was coming. And it's funny because like I said, I live alone, but I have two refrigerators, one in the house and one in the garage, and they're both full. First of all, because I had food deprivation as a child, so I don't eat the food, I just have to have it. I got to be able to see it. And then I always tease, everybody's always teasing me. And I said, okay, y'all will be sorry when they lock this. This is what I said to them. If when they lock this thing down, all of y'all are gonna be coming over here getting in my refrigerator. And that is
I'm
exactly what
coming.
happened. And then I saw the Book of Eli several years ago, and I have a whole closet full of moist towelettes because in that story, the way he was able to negotiate and navigate what he needed was with moist towelettes. So I got some. Now I don't
It's
have no toilet paper, but I got moist towelettes.
same. I stacked up on the baby wipes too.
Yeah,
But
so we knew
I,
this was coming.
Ayanla,
you
you
know,
didn't. Ayanla and Tina, you all didn't stock up on toilet paper, though, right? You didn't get into this whole
No,
toilet paper craze.
I didn't because I didn't even know what was happening. I don't watch the news.
Mm.
So it was 3 days in by the time I found out that the virus was here, it had come and was setting up shop. And everybody, all the toilet paper was gone by then.
Gone, still gone. Can't get it nowhere.
Listen,
Nowhere. I tried again yesterday.
CVS.
I went to,
and
CVS
or-
will let
and
you buy one roll.
I went to
and
order it
it
on
was a
Amazon.
waste of time to actually stand in line for toilet paper because the
Yeah,
Hmm.
stores remain open, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
it really wasn't about the toilet paper. But I actually think that one of the gifts that we all can embrace in these times is, as Iyanla said, not only just a reset for the planet, but
Mhm.
it's time for us to sort of rethink why we're even on the planet. You
Hello.
know, we have reduced this thing called life to the idea of a job and making some money and fame. And if we don't rethink why we're here, why are we, you know, the chances of us being a human being, the odds of that are, you can't even factor them. And
Mhm.
yet we are here thinking that we're supposed to be trying to be famous or making a lot of money. But the truth is, we're supposed to be here to see how every single moment that we face can grow and expand us into a greater understanding of the infinite itself. And if we use this time, not just our quarantine time, for that purpose, but if we use this downtime to just connect with self, we can begin to ask ourselves more meaningful and
Mhm.
planet supportive questions.
Well, no, I love that. And do you think though that because there's a quest for those things that you mentioned, that is part of the reason why maybe some of the younger generation hasn't really plugged into the humanitarian effort of or just the collective effort of staying safe, staying away from each other right now and being quarantined, loving from a distance, and that still wanting to go out, be out, and be lit on social media. Do you think that that's why that's happening?
I think that our poor young people have been ill, um, have not received the guidance that they needed. They haven't been um, helped to focus on the things that really matter. What matters in their world, is the flash and the money and the moving so fast that you don't have time to be with yourself.
Hmm.
But I think that um, we, as a community called human beings, we have to go back, we have to reach back, we have to connect with the kinds of parenting, self-parenting at this point, that makes you a strong human being. You
Yeah,
have to
Mhm.
you have to ask you have to ask why you're here. You have to ask whose you are.
yeah,
You have to ask questions that have nothing to do with money. And we have to teach the young people to do that, because they're going to be in a disaster like this and not have the the inner strength to turn to God. They don't even know to turn to a God. They don't
hmm,
even have the notion that there's a force greater than themselves. That's that's the problem.
Well, I frequently say that we live in a gumball society where people think that they can take their money and put it where they want and get whatever they want. And I grew up in a time when you had to really work for stuff and you had to have something called character. I grew
Mhm.
up as part Native American, part Yoruba, so I grew up in culture. It was about dance and song and respecting elders. So I have grandchildren and great grandchildren, and some of the things that I say to them, they look at me like I got two heads, and and they think that just put the quarter in the gumball machine, and if you want a green one and you turn it
Mm.
and you don't get what the green one, you get an orange one, then you kick and cuss the machine.
Mhm.
They don't understand
That's right.
about creating or taking responsibility. It's very interesting to me. They're all in just the gimme mode. But I blame my generation for that. I blame the
Mm.
elders because we got busy doing the very same thing, seeking this and pursuing that, and we didn't teach like we used to. Most of what I learned about being a woman, about being a human, about being, a teacher, a servant, I learned from my grandmother at the dinner table. But we eat
Mm.
dinner out of styrofoam boxes now or in the back of a car. We don't,
Mhm.
I had to teach my grandchildren how to set a table. They didn't know how to set a table. So, and things have shifted. I think it was Dr. Naeem Akbar who said that your way of living can evolve, but that your foundational ideology has to remain consistent. So
Mm.
we don't
Mhm.
have a foundational ideology as human beings. We just don't have
Mm.
one anymore.
hmm.
It's not about being nice. Just get on social media and cuss somebody out. you know, Divorce them on the catfishing. I just where's just normal human decency? And now that's what we have to learn. We have to learn that. And this thing is teaching us that day by day.
Well, yeah, because I feel like we have such an influence, Melissa Ford, Jason Lee, me, DJ Damage, and you say, a lot of things weren't taught. What can we do with our platforms? Us being able to speak to, individuals
A
like
younger
yourselves
demographic.
yeah, to spread that to a younger demographic. I'm 30 years old and I have people that are coming up under me that follow what I do. How can I spread that message forward? Like, what can I do to be a help for the next generation?
Well, you've got to know it too about culture, about humanity, about character. That's the thing that I think we lost was character. Just doing the right thing even though nobody's looking. Where did that go? We've lost that. Um, and I, I say this, this is life according to Iyanla. Please don't send me emails, okay? When I looked at it for me, because you got to remember, I was a Black Panther. Do you know what? Do you remember what the Black
Yeah,
Panther
yeah, of
Yes,
course.
ma'am.
Mhm, mhm.
Wait, so is that the Black Panther that comes out on Fix My Life? Because that's the only scare. Listen, I've been on Love and Hip Hop. I've been on Wild 'N Out. I ain't afraid of nobody. I've met the boogeyman. I've been shot. I'm afraid of Fix My Life.
But I grew up in that time when it was, community and holding on and stuff. And as we, particularly for people of color, as we became aware of ourselves as a racial people, as Black people, we became Black, we became African American. One of the things that we did was we turned our back on the white man's God. We turned our back on it. With our political astuteness, we didn't want to know Jesus, the white man hanging on the cross, blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem with that: we didn't pick up our own. We didn't pick up our own understanding of God or of the supreme being. So, even in the time when we were in slavery or Jim Crow and all of that, we had a solid spiritual foundation, whatever you called it. I mean, the Nation of Islam back in the 60s, they were a cornerstone in our community and the corner church. So we put down the white man's God and we didn't pick up anything to replace it. And I
Mm.
really believe that that is one of the cornerstones in our broken foundation. We don't have a spiritual center. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about Christian, Islam, Buddhist. I'm talking about a spiritual consciousness that we go back to. Yeah, I slept with a married man when I was younger, but you know
Me
what? I
too.
knew I knew I was sinning. And I had a check in my spirit about it. I still did it, but I had something that kept me in check. But people will do anything today and they don't get a
Mm.
check in their spirit because they don't have a spiritual foundation.
And it
That's
feels
just
like their spirit is hurt also. How do we heal that spirit? Because I feel like a lot of people lash out that way and not care based on a broken or bruised spirit.
a broken or bruised soul. Soul
Hmm.
encompasses the personality.
Mm.
Spirit is your direct link to the creator.
Okay.
So we have broken and abused souls because
Souls.
the parents who came up in the 70s, the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, they lost their spirit. And that's when we started assimilating and chasing after this, and external was better than internal. So I've been saying it now for 34 years. You got to do the work.
So I want to
You
go.
got to do the work.
I want to ask you both a question, the same question, but I'm going to start with you, Ayanla, piggybacking on what you were saying about respecting your elders. Hollywood Unlocked has almost 2 million followers. Of course, we, like every other publisher, posted Oprah falling on stage while she was talking about balance. But we posted it as news. We didn't post it as a way of being happy that she fell. But the reaction from people online, it motivated me to go put another poster with my face on it saying, is this what we've reduced ourselves to? Somebody who's contributed so much to the Black culture around the world. I mean, I grew up in the Oprah era. I watched the show every day. That's where I came to know you and then followed you and the other people. What was your reaction to people's reaction to that online?
Let me say this. I'm a bow out of that conversation because, as you know, I work for the Oprah Winfrey Network. So the younger generation is so disrespectful, and my spirit can't take it. Okay. So anything I say, they're going to consider it, what did they say? Brown nosing, boot licking, ass kissing Oprah. I know Oprah Winfrey from a whole nother place. So I'm a bow out of that conversation because I know my comments won't be honored or respected, and my spirit
Mm.
can't take that level of energy coming to me. So
Mm,
I'm just gonna bow out of that.
mm. What
That's
about you,
fair.
Tina?
You know, I'm going to follow Iyanla's lead and say this. Uh, My heart goes out to any human being that experiences distress, period. And the first thought when we see a fellow human being distressed, I would like our first thought to be, are you okay? Can I help? And if we're talking to the younger generation, and it's not just the younger generation, you know, we all can reset and remind ourselves that social media, and I'll go so far as to say this terrible drug culture that's part of the reason that our morals and character has been undermined. If we want to become more of the spiritual beings that we are birthed to be, if we want to be more aligned with God, then we should be asking ourselves every single day, whenever we can, how can I help? Are you okay? Is this worthy of my time? And is this worthy of my sense of myself and my character?
Let me say this. This is a teaching. This is not about Oprah. This is just general. Number
Mhm.
one, the fish stinks from the head down. Okay? The fish stinks from the head down. It don't stink from the tail up. So we need to look at the head of this fish that we call the United States of America. That's number one.
Mm.
Number two, what
I
you put out comes back. What you put out comes back. It don't matter if you're putting it out to somebody you know or somebody you don't know. So all of those nasty comments that go around, it's coming back to you. And it's
Mhm.
not going to come back the way you get it. It may not come back as a nasty comment. But it's going to come back. That's Isaac Newton created that, the law of gravity and the law, how the laws work. And the universal law is cause and effect. And thirdly, I'll say, I am not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. So when you put something out on Tina, on Melissa, on Oprah, whoever you put it, you putting it out on me. Because I'm not my sister's
I
keeper. I am my sister.
I
Absolutely.
wholeheartedly agree with that, and also the it stinks from from the head on down. That analogy is so apropos right now. I just I think I'm thinking the same thing the boys might be like. How would you fix Trump's life? Because
Fix
he's
the White House, please. Gut it out.
everybody's looking at Iyanla, help him out,
Well,
help
I'm going to do what I would do to anybody else. When I
Mhm.
was personally coaching and when I screen guests for Fix My Life, there's three things that I look for. I don't care what the
Mhm.
story is. I look for number one, willingness. Are they
Mhm.
willing to do the work?
He ain't gonna
You
pass
got
that
to be
test.
willing. Okay, you said it. I didn't. Number two, are they ready? Meaning, does it hurt them bad enough? Does it hurt bad enough that they're willing to do, or are they motivated enough? Are they inspired enough to do whatever it takes? That's number two. Number three, do they have the capacity, mental and emotional capacity to do the work? So I don't care who it is, and I'm the head of this fish. They
Mm.
fail
Yeah,
on
that,
me too.
that the three strikes right there. No,
Okay,
no, no, and no. Okay, so
yeah.
his life will not be fixed anytime soon,
But
and so
he
the
is
rest of us
us.
are screwed.
Melissa, listen
Mm,
to me. Clutch your
mm.
pearls.
I know,
Clutch your
I know.
pearls.
I am.
I
I'm clutching my
I don't
pearls
wear pearls,
all
but I'm
day
clutching
long.
mine because I know you about to say something that's gonna make me want to go to sleep after
He
this.
is us. He is showing us who we
Absolutely.
are. And we're so
Absolutely.
busy focusing on him and being upset with him or supporting him till we're not looking at ourselves. He was elected by the people of this country. Let me just say this, when he first got elected, I said, I had to look at it. Why am I upset? I must have decided wrongly because I am not at peace. So if I'm
Mm.
deciding that he's the problem, let me look at me. The dishonesty. I've been dishonest. I've done that. The bullying. you know, emotionally, psychologically. I've never been a physical bully, but I bullied my partners, I bullied my kids, I bullied friends to get them to do what I want them to do. Switching up my story when I get busted on my stuff. Somebody, oh, you said, no, I didn't, denying what's there. Every single thing he does, I have done. Thank you, Lord, I'm better now. But when I realized, oh, okay, I'm just looking at a macrocosm of myself. I've done the work and I've healed it. What am I upset about? But people are so busy looking at him. If you look at what he does, I guarantee you, it's done. And husbands do it to wives, wives do it to
Mm.
husbands, parents do it to children, friends do it to each other. It's all over the internet. He is us. And
Absolutely.
until we get that,
That's
he
deep.
will be in office.
Absolutely.
But
Until we
okay,
get
but
it.
but, but this is where okay, I'm gonna transition now to love from a distance because I'm gonna love Trump from
Mhm.
a way far distance.
Far away.
This is where I feel like I hope you're talking about these things on your new podcast, Love from a Distance, because I really feel like there is no source to go to learn how to think the way you just said that. I've never thought about, and I do not want to think about being like Trump. But when you
You
break
are.
it,
Mm.
I know. But when you break it down that way, you're like, damn, I did lie last week.
Mhm.
You know, it's just I just think the reality of it all is just so unsettling. But I think that goes back to then when you're ready to do the work and really look inside and go, okay, let me look at my own stuff first, and then I can see things a little bit more clearly,
Yeah.
right?
The hardest thing for the human, and Tina is an inner fitness guru, so I'm going to let her speak to it. But I'm going to say this: the hardest thing for a human being to do is to look at their warts and wrinkles. They'd much
Mm.
rather, pull my fingernails out with a hot poker. But have me look at my warts and my wrinkles? Oh no, I'm not doing that. Would that be accurate,
Mm.
Tina?
I absolutely agree with that. Deep inside of our soul, we have already judged ourselves as wrong, not good enough, and rejected who we are.
That's right.
And the
But
Mm.
idea,
where does that come from? Is that generational or
it's human. It's
Yeah,
part of just the surviving self. The surviving self has been developing through our nervous system for 500 million years. And the surviving self doesn't have time to focus on character and elevated thinking. And yet, we absolutely house an elevated consciousness, but we got to get to it.
got to do the
So
work.
when we accept that we have this tendency towards survival and its behavior and characteristics are really horrible. They stand in the way of all of the things that we say we really want. They stand in the way of us feeling a sense of inner safety and peace. They stand in the way of us feeling like we can have joy even in the midst of challenge. They stand in the way of us experiencing ourselves as whole and worthy.
Listen,
And to just
Mm.
go
to
ahead,
just
Tina. I'm sorry.
it's okay to just know that the surviving self exists puts us ahead of the game, because now we can begin to deal with ourselves in a way that acknowledges that challenge, but not before we acknowledge our deep and our profound acceptance of self. If we just started saying, I do have Trump in me, and I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself,
Anyway.
even though I am seeing this behavior inside of me. Something inside will relax and say, okay,
Mhm.
I see that you know who you know where we are, and now we can make new choices.
but does that give us permission to love Trump?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
that's
can't.
just a part. But see, we do the same thing. We do the same thing with ourselves.
No, I
I
and
mean,
each
we
other and each
we're
other.
we're calling it Trump, but and Tina's calling it the surviving self. I call it the ego. Okay, but
Yes.
we all have that part of us. Some of the teachers call it the shadow. So the part of us we think is ugly, but we instead of owning that part of us, we'll get our breasts done or our face done or we'll dress fancy. There's a part of us that each of us has a part we think maybe is unworthy or less than. But instead of owning and claiming that part of us, we'll stick our chest out and we're going to be better and do better. So we all have it. And what the ego does is it motivates us, or the surviving self motivates us to hide that part of us. So what's happening now is it's in your face, baby. It's in your face. And we're pointing at it and we're putting it out there. But if you didn't have it, you wouldn't recognize it. I know a lie. I can smell a lie. I can hear a lie. It makes my nose itch or my something.
I was gonna say it makes my teeth itch.
Mhm.
Right? My teeth
And
itch.
that's why I haven't applied for Fix My Life yet. I ain't ready.
Mhm.
I think you're ready, Jason.
I
I
think it's
totally
time.
think you're ready for
I honestly think
Ayanla.
it's tried to. I think that'll be dope.
Well, I
no,
think coming out of the book, I will say having written it on paper and then going back and editing and reading it and then speaking on it in front of hundreds of people who are looking at me and can see through. I mean, I feel like people can see through lies, like they see you and being vulnerable. I think I'm prepared to keep going through that, but I do think there's multiple processes to get to the place where you're speaking, where you can actually like look at yourself and others and say like I have a lot more work to do, because I mean we all are a work in progress,
Hmm.
yeah.
but it's overcoming the fear of really doing the work.
Damage, can I want to just ask you a question because you were talking how do you deal with the people coming up behind you. So for example, when you see a youngin or even a
Hmm.
peer, a contemporary, do something that's totally out of order, do you call them on it right there? Not pointing your finger and screaming, but say, yo, brother, that's off. Let's talk about that.
I actually do. I
Okay.
actually do.
That's a demonstration. And to be able, because we're so afraid of confrontation, I call it carefrontation. Don't
Hmm.
let me die.
Mm.
Don't let me die. If you see me out here doing something that's dangerous to my mind, my heart, my soul, my body, don't let me die. So that's one of the things, teaching us ourselves that it's okay to call people on stuff, it is one of the things that we can do, because what that does is it really challenges the ego, that surviving self. And the other thing, let me just add this little drop in. I'm your cultural custodian for the day. So, you know, I'm going to say this for people of color specifically. I haven't been white in this body, so I really don't
Hmm.
know. It could be true for them also. But I'm going to speak to what I know of. We cannot discount our cellular memory.
Mm.
The
Hmm.
cellular memory is the same memory that carries the texture of your hair, the size of your nose, your lips, from your great 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 grandparents as it's come down and it's been integrated with other families. You have a cellular memory, if you are a person of color, of being oppressed, of being denied, diminished, devalued, dismissed, of being enslaved. It's a cellular memory. And they say, Deepak Chopra actually was the one who said it, that it takes 14 to 17 generations to clear a spiritual and an emotional gene out of a lineage. So we're now all running to, 23andMe and DNA and understand, oh, yeah, I had this, I had that. But you know who the people are, but do you know what their history was?
Mm.
Because it's in you. It's in you. Yeah. So we can't discount that either. And the ego will hold on to those diminished, devalued, denied, oppressed parts of you as the rationale for why you can't be the divinity that you are.
And so
Mm.
you've been very public about losing everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talked about it from your daughter to your partner at the time. Before we got on, you just lost a partner in January. My cousin's son just committed suicide the other day. And so within this international crisis or the storm, everybody is also going through their own storms and feeling like either they have lost everything or are going to lose everything. How do both of you think about that, and what do you offer people in terms of hope to be able to keep moving?
I think it's really important for, again, each one of us to commit to a certain amount of accountability to self. And another word for that is self love. And it's important for us to actually take time and ask hard questions. Hard because they're uncommon questions. Like, who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? How do I want to impact the world around me? How do I want to impact my family and friends? What do I want to be said about me? For us to
Mm.
take time and actually, instead of making the world and the crises that we're going through right this moment the point, turn that attention, we all are quarantined right this moment, turn that attention inward and begin to ask ourselves, who do we want to be? Because if you ask that question, it will open up the door to the divine self that is waiting to actually help us find that path. The path is there, the path belongs to us. We can reclaim ourselves from anything, but it takes a lot of work, and you need community, and you need teachers, and you need commitment to get there.
I thank you for that, Tina. Thank you. I do a Facebook Live every morning. I've been doing it. Today was the 10th day. I
What
do it
time is
every
that?
day, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time,
I'll be there tomorrow.
because because I know people are freaking out. The question I heard you offer us was, what do you tell people who are afraid of losing anything? What I learned from losing everything, my home, my daughter, my husband, my contract with a national publisher, all my money in the bank. Only thing I had was a car. Thank you, Jesus. I had a car because I could sleep in it, I could eat in it. I was grateful for my car. But what I learned is none of this is mine anyway. This is temporary. This is
Mm.
temporary. All of it I bought, or was given to me. And if I got it once, I can get it again and probably
Mm,
something better. So it's our attachments, it's holding on. And
mm,
until we learn how to do this, until we can surrender everything, what I want to keep, what I want to enjoy, what I want to embrace, what I want to stand for is the I am of Iyanla. You understand? That's what I want to stand for. I'm
You
willing to
really
sleep.
hit the
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, no, you really hit the nail on the head just in terms of um loss and the perception of loss versus the fact that we're everything is not it's borrowed. It doesn't belong to us. I mean, I was just in a near death car accident less than 2 years ago, and it completely transformed the way that I looked at the world, just in terms of my level of my sentimentalism, like how I viewed material things, how I viewed relationships that I had. And I had to redefine who I was to myself when that happened. And what completely left me was any sense of materialism, any sense of wanting to hold on to
Attachment.
anything, the attachment to something because it would in itself own me.
Yeah.
And that
mhm,
was one of the most difficult lessons to have to experience as it's happening and as I'm redefining who I am to myself. It was I wouldn't it's a hard process. I'm glad I went through it, but boy, it was challenging. So you're
But
If I
you're
look at the
absolutely right
Bahamas.
when you
Look at what
talk about
happened
that.
in the
Mhm.
Bahamas. Those people woke up one
mm,
morning, everything was gone. Or you look
Yeah,
at Haiti, what happened a few years ago. Look at Puerto Rico, what happened. So it's our attachments that create our suffering. And one of
hmm,
the most difficult things that's going to happen, I think, for us right here is the fact that the change is coming, and we're going to have to give up
massive change.
a lot, and people who need their titles and their belongings to have value. I'm going to be Yamla. If I'm living in a tent under a tree and somebody comes, I'm going to coach them. I'm going to teach them. I'm hoping I have my books in the little tent with me. But people are worrying about they ain't got no job, they don't have no money. Many years ago, my teacher taught me how to fast for 40 days. Do you know there's people that ain't gonna be able to go through a day without food? I can fast for 40 days if I got some water. Okay. That's the kind of discipline that we need to be dealing with. That's the kind of energy that Tina's talking about. You worrying about losing your house. What happens if we can't get in the stores or the supply trucks don't come? What you gonna do? You don't have your uh, Chinese food or your burrito or your whatever. People can't even pass. They can't get
or,
through
or
three
or if
days
you
without eating.
or if you're worried about staying in the house, there's people that don't even have a house. So think,
Okay.
right,
Mhm.
That,
right,
but see, that's the
Mhm.
piece. Let me
yeah,
tell you the thing that was most upsetting to me about this entire thing. When I heard that there were over 300,000 children in the United States depending on their breakfast and lunch from school,
From
yeah,
schools.
yeah.
that thing
Mhm.
broke my heart. We've got
Mhm.
600, is it 60 or it must be 60, 60 million acres of land in this country dedicated to golf courses
Mm.
where people pay to go hit a ball with a stick. But 300,000 children have to go to school to get breakfast and lunch. There are people walking around in $1,000 shoes that they can cross their legs so you can see that the bottoms of them are red. And we can't feed our children. And we looking at Donald Trump. See, that's a problem. I got a problem with that. I got a
I
problem
think
with
this
the
whole
level of
thing
food scarcity.
So in
Mhm.
my book, I credit Dr. Phil and Oprah for helping me get through, along with your book, the death of my brother Phil. They had somebody on the show. The woman's daughter had died. Oprah had asked her, "Well, now that you've told the story, what are you going to do?" The lady said, "Well, I planned on going home and killing myself." And Dr. Phil said, uh, "Why are you choosing to live in the moment your daughter died and not celebrate all the years that she
I
lived?"
remember that. I remember
Beautiful.
that.
Beautiful.
That literally stopped the mourning that I had mourned for 10 years. I was in a deep depression, and it was like a light switch that went off. So I believe these conversations, somebody somewhere gets something, right? Melissa, her mother right now has stage 4 cancer, and your mother passed from cancer. And so I'm not sure if there's a word you could give her to help her with where she is now and then coming through that, because she's been struggling with that.
Melissa's been struggling, or her mom has been struggling.
I mean, my mom she's a Russian Norwegian. She's like a Viking. She's strong. She's stoic. I've been the one that has been prematurely mourning. I've been thinking about what life will look like without my mom, and it's unimaginable. So, like, in terms of Jason's absolutely right. I'm always looking for the wisdom of others who have gone through something as traumatic as what I know is on the horizon for me when it comes
Why
to
is
my
that
mom.
traumatic? Help me understand that. Why are you seeing that as traumatic? Your mother started dying the day she was born. We're not born to
I
live
know.
forever.
I guess because we don't really look at things like that. Number one, and number two, I think that we look at ourselves as we look towards our parents as our anchors. What anchors us to the earth? What makes me me? And it's where we've come from. And I was blessed enough to have both my parents in my life until my dad passed away when I was almost 16, and my mom is just she's my mom.
But
Mothers are special.
yes, I
You're
know.
one.
Yeah, I didn't
Mhm,
have one, but I am one. I'll tell you what
mhm,
helped me with Jamia when I lost my daughter.
mhm,
See, I get that children bury their parents. That's just the
mhm,
natural order. Parents burying their children raises a whole nother issue. And the thing that I learned is
mhm,
that when a woman loses a child, it changes who she is at the core of her being. Because mommy's supposed to fix the boo boo and make everything better. And when you're watching your child die, and when they take the child and put it in a box and put that box in the ground, and you are mommy, and there's nothing you can do about that, it changes who you are. But this is what helped me, Melissa, with Jamia.
mhm,
I went to bed. She died on Christmas Day. We
mhm,
buried her on the December 30th. And I went to bed, and I didn't get up until May 10th.
Mhm.
And I got up on May 10th because in all the weeping in the morning, holding my pistol to blow my brains out, I remember that Dr. Phil show, Jason, because I remember that. And, and I said, okay, God, what do I need to do? Help me, help me, help me. And this is what I heard: release the physicality.
Mm.
You are suffering because you are holding on to the physicality. What did she teach you? What did she give you? How did she love you? Hold on to that and release the physicality. I'm telling you, I got up out of the bed that day and I've never mourned again. I miss her every day. I talk about her every day. But once I released the physicality and I started thinking about the depth of our relationship, and she taught me not to mix my metals. Don't wear a silver necklace and gold earrings. That's just tacky, you
My
know.
mom told me the same thing too.
She taught me how to match my colors. She was the
Mm,
curator of the line of body products that I have, Masterpiece. But it was my
mm.
attachment to the physicality. I want to hear, I want to see her, I want to hear her. That caused my suffering. So I will say to you, Melissa, what did she teach you?
Mm.
Can you demonstrate that? How did she love you? Release the physicality, release it, and you will find that your heart will open and that your mommy will always be with you. She really will.
And I
You're
would
right.
love.
You, you
No,
know,
go ahead, Melissa.
I
Go
would
ahead, Tina.
love to share, Melissa, that when I lost my brother from
Hmm.
a drug overdose 2 weeks out of rehab, my father and my dog, my first dog, all within 6 months of one another. The thing that was shocking to me was that I could ask God, I could open myself to the idea that I could experience this differently than the way I have imagined and assumed that I'm supposed to feel.
Yes.
And by just making room for something outside of the way it should be experienced, I might very well experience something mystical and wonderful.
Yep.
And that was my experience. But again,
Hmm.
part of the spiritual walk is that we must dare, in the face of everything we know, in the face of all of our conditioning, in the face of all of our beliefs about how life works. The truth is, we don't know.
Mm.
And so, if in those moments of not knowing, we are willing, that's Iyanla's wonderful word, if we are willing enough to reach beyond ourselves and our surviving self or ego and mind, just reach. You don't even have to know what you're reaching for, but just be courageous enough to reach. Ask for support and it will be shown.
Yeah.
It happens every time.
Let me just say this
Thank you,
because
ladies.
my time is running short. One of the
Mhm,
reasons that we are doing Love from a Distance, this
mhm,
podcast, is like I said, I do a Facebook Live every morning at 10 o'clock, but I can talk to people, but they can't talk to us. So one of the
mhm.
things why we have this separation, we want to do Love from a Distance so that we can hear from people, because people are still dying of cancer. People are going through a divorce. People are still having substance abuse issues. And so not only is that going on, but now you can't touch nobody. People won't even look at you. I went into CVS the other day and the man, not only did he jump back, he lowered his head. I said, you can't get it through your eyes, beloved. First First of all, I don't have it, but you can't get it through your eyes. We won't even look at each other.
There was a Postmate in the hallway at my building yesterday delivering food, and I walked all the way to the other side of the room and looked down.
I know. So what that's why we're doing love from a distance. We want to have some interaction just like we've had here today. And I'm just honored and not only to be with Tina and just the depth of her wisdom and her heart. She really is an inner fitness guru, and you really do need to read um,
Mm,
the little book of Big Lies.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be tuned in your Facebook Live. Okay. And also to the show because I was wondering about the title "Love from a Distance." It's just it's very convenient right now,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
wondered if that played a role in the title, but I'm thinking that no, it didn't.
Well, it did because how do we love? I mean, I'm loving on y'all right now. I love it. Three youngins in front of me, I'm just happy to be here. And how do we do more of this? Can families do Zoom calls? Have they done them? Can they do Skype calls? My girlfriend and her children were playing Monopoly on Skype. Okay, they were playing Monopoly on Skype. Everybody was moving the pieces for every. I mean, this has given rise to so much creativity. So if
Yeah.
we would, as Tina said, just be willing to stretch beyond, there's another way of looking at the world. And we need to start doing that. My message on Facebook Sunday, you can go back and listen to it, was how you gonna do your time? How you
Mhm.
going to do your time right now?
Mhm.
Some people go
Mhm.
to jail and come out with a college degree. Others go to jail and come out trying to do better what they did that got them in there in the first place. How
Mhm.
you going to do your
Mhm.
time right now? That's a question. Are you going to do it
Mhm.
worrying and about what you might lose? Because if you're going to lose it, this and you're worrying ain't going to stop it, you know?
Where do they join you at? Where can they find the podcast?
um, well, there's a link, but we don't have it, but we'll get it to you.
It's
Okay.
www.lovefromadistance.info. If
Okay,
you go to
perfect.
that
Okay.
link, you'll be able to register.
See, I'm home, and when mama can't be home, grandma has to take over. So this is my great grandson right
Look
here.
at
Say
him.
Hi.
hey, say hey.
Oh, I
Oh,
wish
he's
I
so
could
So
sweet.
see him.
Well, I
listen,
mean,
he
Do we have time for one more question?
yes, he was in the
I'm so
chair.
sorry.
Thank you so much. He's been in the chair all the time I've been with y'all, and he said enough. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. He's putting on his hoodie. Okay, go ahead. Yes, one more question, my
I'm
love.
so sorry. Just,
No, no.
reading Jason's book and seeing how he lost his mother and his father figure, which was his big brother, seeing what Melissa's going through right now. I have a strained relationship with my mother. I'm one of six and I was adopted, and we just have a strained relationship. And you talk about love from a distance. Do you have any advice, quick advice on us kind of mending our relationship and steps to take to kind of bring that love together? Because I have so much love for my birth mother, but it's strained, and I feel like at this point in time, watching the situations that's going on with the people I work with, I don't want to take that for granted that I have the opportunity to build a relationship. So if there's any advice y'all could give to kind of mending or bringing that together.
Let me say this because he's getting restless, and then I'll leave you to Tina. It's not, it's the judgments you have to forgive, beloved. You're judging her. You're judging what she did is wrong or how she did it. You're judging her. And I think one of the greatest breaks the human psyche experiences is the break between the child and the mother. When that bond is broken, it's just like Bernie Mac used to say, it cuts you till the white meat shows. So I would say if you can find the judgments, she shouldn't have, she was wrong, she did this, she could have, why didn't she? All of those judgments. And you can forgive those judgments because that's what stands between you and the experience of love. Sometimes moms, no matter what, I had all of my kids with me. I had my first one when I was 16 and I kept them all. And they still blame me for their level of crazy. Okay, mom is going to get it no matter what. We're just the usual suspect. But this is what I would say to you. Even if your mother gave you trash, if she gave you garbage to eat, I want to guarantee you this, that she walked 5 blocks out of her way. to go to the good side of town to get the best garbage she could find. And she walked back and she brought it to you. Because in her way as a mom, even if it was trash, she wanted you to have the best. Now you can judge her for giving you trash, but love her because she was willing to walk 5 blocks out of her way to get the best trash she could find. If you can remove the judgments, baby, your heart will open. Your heart will open.
Well,
So
that
that's
was
what I would
powerful.
offer.
Listen, we're going to tune in and keep sharing the podcast to all of our followers. We have almost 1 billion minutes watched on YouTube, and we have followers who are engaged. I think
Wow.
more millennials need to really plug into this. And I would ask Iyanla and Tina, if you guys are in rooms that we're not yet, we would love to figure out a way to bridge the gap between the millennials that we reach and the wisdom for the people like you, like Tina, like Oprah, like a Dr. Phil, because it's this younger generation that, like, I'm at home with anxiety because of the younger people online that I'm watching not really tapping into what we all are going through as one, and I feel like there is that gap missing. And if we could, I mean, that gap is there. If we could figure out how to bridge that gap, especially with our people, it'd be powerful.
Listen, anytime you need me, maybe we should do Wise Woman Wednesday, and I'll come on Wednesday and just let the young people ask me some questions,
Done. I mean, because they're
Okay.
all excited that you both are here today. So we're going to let you go. And
Okay.
we appreciate you. And I'm going to get my books to both of you. And we love you and we honor you.
Thank you.
Back at
Melissa?
you. Thank you.
What up, YouTube? Thank you for watching this reckless show.
Yeah, and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.
And also don't forget to share and leave a comment because we are reading.